Why, hello there. My name is Mountain, and today I'd like to talk to you about this. And what is this, you might ask? Well, this is the Moment Travelwear Backpack 21 liter. Now, its name may suggest that this is a travel-oriented backpack, but in reality, I would say that's only one out of the three things that this bag aspires to be. It also aspires to be a minimalist EDC backpack, and it also aspires to be a photography-oriented backpack, which is intended for carrying cameras via the use of this dedicated camera cube. Now, it's manufactured by a company called Moment, which is a Seattle, Washington-based manufacturer, which started out as third-party lenses for smartphones, expanded into other kinds of photographic equipment, then into like slings and hip bags, and finally released their first proper line of backpacks a few months ago. Now, its main claim to fame, I think, is that it is a very kind of like minimalist aesthetic with some really nice details in terms of material choice. EDC bag with tons of EDC, or tons of organization actually all over the bag, that also can, with some very significant limitations, carry a backpack, or carry a camera from point A to point B via the use of this camera cube that we'll talk about in a moment, and also works fairly well as a secondary bag for two-bag travel due to its kind of smaller size and kind of ability to kind of fit underneath the seat in front of you. Now, its main weakness is actually, it's probably the fact that it tries to do all three of those things that I mentioned at the same time. And in so doing, it makes some pretty significant compromises in all of them. It's not a very good backpack for on-the-go kind of like in and out photographic camera access. It's pretty small actually in terms of a travel bag proper, so not great for one bag travel. And then it also has some kind of significant compromises as an EDC use bag, for example, this kind of very stiff frame sheet that doesn't let the bag stand up on its own. Anyway, the bag is available in three different colors. So this is obviously black. There's also an orange clay color and then a green olive color, and in two sizes, 21 liters, which this is, and then 17 liters, which is slightly smaller, obviously. So in terms of who this bag is for and who it's not for, so it's going to be a pretty good bag for people who are looking for a highly organized EDC smaller use bag. Like this bag is small, but it packs in a ton of pockets, has a nice big compartment, but still like some organization here, has like device, laptop, additional kinds of, like organizational pockets in here, etc. Just a really, kind of useful bag for that particular use case. It is also a very good bag for kind of two-bag travel. So as I mentioned, it's pretty small, so it'll count as a personal item. It has what I consider one of the best like luggage pass-throughs in a bag of this size, like just really well executed and straightforwardly simple. And it also has a lot of organization for all the different things you want to carry. And finally, I think if you have a very, very light EDC loadout and you're looking to carry a small like mirrorless kit, very small mirrorless kit from point A to point B, this bag is an okay choice for that, although again, I don't think it's a very good photographic backpack. So that having been said, let's talk about who it's not for. So first of all, it's not a great bag if you're a person who has like a proper larger camera, or you're looking to carry several lenses, or even if you're just looking to carry a normal smaller loadout, but you want to get in and out of the bag. Running gun type shooting or whatever, this is not a great bag for that at all. I'll talk about why later on. It's also not a very good bag if you have a lot of bulky items. Like this bag is smaller. Again, this is 21 liters. The other one is 17 liters. And like this main compartment can get intruded upon by like the contents of the front and the back very easily. It doesn't leave you a lot of space. And finally, for the same reasons, it's not a good one bag travel bag, precisely because unless you have the most dialed out kit in the world, this is going to be a pretty hard bag to make work for any kind of extended one bag travel use, which is confusing for a bag called Travelwear. Anyway, now with that out of the way, let's talk about the aesthetics of this bag. I think you can describe this as like the classic campus kind of style backpack, half sort of clamshell opening silhouette, but updated for the modern era. So nice touches like these aqua guard zippers, like this kind of custom metal slider hardware here, unusual but very, very poor, which we'll talk about. Sternum strap here. Just kind of some interesting design materials. The material is this kind of recycled corduroy with a K kind of fabric material with a DWR coating. And it's just overall, I think, a very nice, simplistic silhouette, classic silhouette. When you look from a distance, when you get up close, there's all these kind of cool little functional details, like nice gusseting water bottle pocket and those pieces of those hardware choices I mentioned just a moment ago here that I think make this a little bit interesting and like a bag that's been updated for the modern 21st century device-centric kind of EDC lifestyle. Now, The bag does not stand up on its own, which is really, really disappointing because on Moment's site, they pretend that it does. But in reality, the only way it's going to stand up on its own is if you take this camera cube that I mentioned here, fill it up with heavy glass, and then put it, inside the bag. But any bag will stand up if you put 3 or 4 kilograms of glass and metal at the bottom of it, right? I don't think that counts. And the reason why it doesn't is because what's going to be a theme in this review, compromises made in the spirit of trying to serve all 3 use cases. This case here, just far too stiff of a frame sheet, which was necessary, I think, for the photographic use case where you're trying to carry heavy camera equipment, you need a stiff frame sheet, but in reality, like that just means the bag flops back and forth. The Cordura fabric that's actually probably pretty good for a lot of things also means that the bag slides a lot because it's a very smooth fabric with no kind of real friction on there. Talking about then the rest of, not the rest of the bag, excuse me here. The bag does actually kind of pick up a lot of lint and dirt and stuff, but it wipes off pretty easily. I wiped this bag off right before this video and everything came off right away, so it's pretty nice here. The other colorways presumably would show less kind of lint and dirt and fuzz on it. So turning our attention to the, I guess, kind of side profile here. It is, as I mentioned, like a very compact bag, which is great. Like it rides close to your body, though does not hug your body at all. Like it's very flat like a board because of this stiff frame sheet here. I like that it's, it packs a lot of organization and lets you use like different levels vertically of the bag. It's not the best at that, but there are pockets up high and then pockets down low and pockets in this plane. So kind of good at using a lot of the space in the bag there. So talking about the external pockets of the bag next. So the first thing you notice is you have this water bottle pocket. And I like that this water bottle pocket is kind of like relatively low profile. You don't really notice it because it's made in the same kind of face fabric as the rest of the bag here, but it has this nice gusseting that you can see at the back here. 2 elastic parts here and then like this extra elastic hidden gusseting both at the top and the bottom. Now in terms of being able, it says they can fit up to a 1 liter Nalgene water bottle. I don't usually walk around with 1 liter worth of water in here, but this is an 18-ounce Purist water bottle. And it does sometimes get caught when you're trying to jam it in there, especially if you've got stuff on the inside of the bag. So you might need to use 2 hands to kind of like pull the flap open and get it tucked in there. But one thing that you're going to notice right away is when we put it in there, we can just push it all the way to the bottom. And I'll show you here from the bottom how this works. So you push it in there and then you can see it just kind of expands out. This gust at the bottom expands out, at the back it expands out, and it just really locks it in there nice and tight. And I like that. It's not going anywhere. It doesn't need like a bunch of like, fancy, rubber, tactical parts inside there. Just really keeps it nice and low profile in there. And surprisingly, it doesn't intrude too much into the inside of the bag because you do have this kind of gusseting both at the top and the bottom. And it lets it expand out, which I thought was really, really nice. And when you take it out, it quickly kind of just disappears back into sort of the side of the bag like this. So a little bit of friction and getting it into the bag, really easy to get it out though. Now, one thing that I thought was sort of, again, an area where like the different compromises, like this is great as an EDC bag and it's like a minimalist 2-bag travel bag, low profile, all that stuff. But then like a compromise that you make is though it's supposed to be a camera oriented bag. So this is a Peak Design travel tripod, one of the smaller ones that they make out there, or that is out there in terms of travel tripods. And normally if you're carrying photographic equipment, you need to carry, well, you don't need to, but many people will carry a tripod. And this one will actually fit inside of the bag because it's smaller, but most tripods will not. So a very common thing in camera-oriented bags is to have like a side pocket where you can put at least one of the legs of the tripod, and then you'll have a strap at the top, which will help stabilize the bag. You can kind of carry even, much larger tripods on the outside like that. Very, very common pattern. On this one, there is a water bottle pocket. It will fit in there, but there's no strap and there's no like attachment point, confusingly, to attach a strap. And so what you end up with is this. So obviously this is not tenable. You can't walk around with this. It's going to like flop out of your bag. It's going to break the bag or whatever, right? And it's really confusing for a bag that aims to be a photography oriented backpack. That seems like they could have just added at least an attachment point for a strap there. And I feel like that's a compromise they probably did to preserve the EDC minimalist aesthetic, or kind of like more minimal looking traditional aesthetic of this bag, which makes it a worse camera bag. It's just really, really odd, actually. I didn't quite get that. Anyway, moving on to the other pocket of the bag. This is the front / pocket of the bag, which I think is really great. So this is the top of the bag, this is the bottom of the bag. It opens all the way here. Relatively smooth zipper there. And the first thing you're gonna notice at the top is you have all these kind of like organizer pockets, which I like. This top pocket here is elasticated. The rest are not, but they're like a stiffer fabric. This one's elasticated with a little pull tab. And then there I have my iPhone 11 Pro. In this next one, which is a little bit wider, I have a Bellroy note taker. Oops, something fell out there. With field notes inside of there. Right next to it, very cleverly positioned, you have a pen slot where I have like a James Brand Benton pen. And then at the bottom, you have this really tight pocket that this always happens. It gets caught on here. You have to kind of fish it out. I have another pocket for like some masks in like a blue bottle mask container. And the reason why this gets caught is because the zipper track goes to the bottom of the bag, but there's still a little bit of space, obviously, where the zipper has to stay, whereas the bottom of this pocket is sewn all the way to the seam line. So you end up with this little, like, I guess, like ridge, and things get caught in there, and it's really hard to kind of fish them in and out because it gets caught on this. And the same thing, you're going to see like a little bit of access, friction of access here, a little bit of friction access there, and a couple other places on this bag. Anyway, that having been said, beyond there, you have this nice key leash in which I have my keys. And I like that it has this kind of custom aluminum metal gate clip. A company like Bellroy, which puts in really cheap and kind of not good feeling key leashes into most of their otherwise excellent bags, could learn a lesson or two from Moment, I think, in this respect here. A big capacity here. There's a bit of flex on the inside of the bag, so it can intrude on the main capacity if needed. We can dump a bunch of stuff, and then, nicely enough, an inside pocket that zips down to around right here. So it does leave some space off the bottom of the bag, which is nice. It keeps everything from piling up at the bottom there. And then there, you know, you've got like another kind of sub compartment in which I have like an eco bag and like some alcoholic wipes and some hand lotion and stuff like that. It's really nice to just kind of throw some extra stuff in here. It's very capacious. It's got this nice stretch mesh, which you can see here. I did notice a couple of like loose threads here and there, and I noticed them like in the zipper track here. It's unfortunate, but it doesn't affect the handling of the bag. And I just like that there's a lot of like capacity and organization and just dumpability mixed with like organizationally, like keeping things separate. It's a really nice, well-oriented, organized and executed front/pocket. Flipping the bag around here, we're gonna get into the other two compartments in a moment, but let's talk very briefly about the carriage system. So first of all, there's this sternum strap. It's a simple kind of two-layer kind of sewn over stiff webbing. I like that it kind of is low profile-ish, but you know, very easy to grab because it kind of stands up off of the bag, has some friction to there. It's a little bit thin, so you're not going to want to carry it like this forever, for very long distances, I mean. And because it is offset, it will bang against your leg when you're kind of walking, especially with this very stiff frame sheet. But still, I think it's a very competently executed grab strap. Flipping it around, you have the shoulder straps. The shoulder straps are pretty unremarkable in terms of like they're relatively thin foam, but like they're comfortable enough for the loads that you'll usually be carrying inside of a bag of this size, again, 21 or 17 liters. If you put in a bunch of heavy camera gear, you will start to feel the limitations of this. The main face of the shoulder strap is the same as the body fabric, and then they have this sort of mesh, that air mesh that runs underneath the back strap, kind of also lines like where it kind of contacts your shoulders or your neck or whatever. At the bottom, there are no strap keepers, but there's a pretty small bag, so like I don't find that I have a lot of tons of excess dangling straps. And then you have like this sort of custom metal hardware, slider hardware, which I kind of liked. Now, that having been said, this bag has a sternum strap, and that is the last positive thing I can say about the sternum strap. This sternum strap has taken over from the Bellroy Apex. Sternum strap is the single worst sternum strap I've ever had the displeasure of using. Now, there are several reasons why. Now, first of all, when you think of sternum straps on a bag, it's a solved problem. There's two pieces. One goes on the left, one goes on the right. They're usually asymmetrical. The adjustment strap is somewhere in the middle. You clip and unclip from the center, done deal, right? And there's different variations in like toggle ladder systems, sliders, or whatever attached into the strap. But that's, again, there are many excellent solutions on the market. I've never seen this particular solution. I feel like they probably invented this just for this bag. And it's just like textbook study in like why reinventing the wheel is not always the right thing to do, right? Like the not invented here syndrome. So there's some problems with it. First of all, they attach to this plastic track. And if you look at the back of this plastic track, you can see these little ridges because they attach in discrete positions. Now, you're supposed to like pull one end and then, you know, clip it to the other one and then clip it in here. And then the first thing you notice is that because there's no like clear like markers of how high up or how high or low you are on this. Like it's very easy, for example, when you clip this in there to end up with like them at asymmetrical positions, one higher than the lower, and then they're discrete clicks, so you can't like even slide it up, and now you have to take it out, re-clip it in somewhere like this, and then it's just such a frustrating experience. Now the second problem that you have is that you can see here, it gets caught on this like cover for the zip for the attachment track. Now imagine you're wearing this bag, you're looking down, you know, craning your neck, looking down like this, and you're trying to like clip this thing in, and it's getting caught up on this like fabric, or you can't see or it's on here. This happens all the time. It's such a miserable interaction. Now the third problem that happens a lot is very often this pull tab. So the way that this works is like it's strong against lateral tension, but if you pull up on this, it'll come off right away. So you need this pull tab to be able to remove the zipper or remove the sternum strap. But you'll put it in there and you'll flip the, you know, this happens a lot because again, you're pushing in like this, so your thumb will naturally push in this pull tab. The other hand has to pull this back so you can expose the zipper or the attachment track. And then it pulls down like this. And now this tab is tucked away in there. So then you go to unattach it and you're like, oh wait. And so then you have to kind of fight to pull this out and then pull it out like this. And this frictionful access happens every single time you use the sternum strap. Is it too high? Is it too low? Can I kind of fish it in? You're wearing a heavy bag or a bag with load in it, and you're kind of, you know, trying to crane your head and use two hands while you're trying to get going because you're in a hurry or something like that. And then this thing is just miserable, and there's no reason to have invented a subpar solution for this. They should have just used something off the shelf, and it would have been so much better. I hate this. This should have been caught before it went out into production. This is really, really unusable, and it's not good at all. Anyway, that having been said, that's really all I have to say about the kind of load carry system, with the exception of, as I mentioned previously, like this has a very, very stiff back panel, which is, I think, necessary both for when you're carrying heavy camera equipment with it, but also when you want to use this luggage pass-through. Now, a positive thing to say about this bag is like this bag has a really nice luggage pass-through. It's super simple. There's no zippers, no mess, no fuss, and it's super thin. It's just low profile out of the way when you're not using it. But it's nice wide opening, and it's just easy to drop it over the top of a rolling luggage handle. And because of the stiff frame sheet, it doesn't really like move around that much. It kind of stays fixed in place. One of the nicest kind of implementations of a luggage pass-through I've seen in a carry backpack in a long time here, right? And then actually I said I was done, but I forgot to mention the back of it has like this kind of mesh, same mesh as you have on the back of these shoulder straps here, but with some kind of ridges underneath. So there's no like real air channel. It looks like an air channel, but there isn't. It's really flat. But this kind of raised ridges underneath the foam lets it kind of absorb a little bit of sweat and kind of just give you a little bit more pleasant experience than just like a flat sheet against your back. Anyway, that's really it then. That is really it actually for the load carry system on this bag. Flipping the bag around, we're going to look at, sorry, actually we'll flip it back to the back. Let's talk about one of the two main compartments on the bag. So there is a AquaGuard zipper, which I previously mentioned on this bag, that hides the laptop and tech compartment. It's a one-way zipper, and all the main zippers on this bag, all the zippers on this bag are very small. You can see this is a very small, slight bag. AquaGuard zipper. It has honestly like a really cheap feeling, like kind of like paracord loop. It doesn't feel very nice. Like it just feels a little cheap, but it works okay, I guess. So pull it open, and then that reveals the main tech compartment. A little bit of a logo at the top there. Let's see if we can get it to focus. And then right away, you're gonna notice this is the back of the bag here. You've got a slot for a laptop. This is a 13-inch MacBook Pro, but it will also fit up to a 16-inch MacBook Pro. And then in front, a tablet pocket. Here I have a 12-inch iPad Pro in there. And then you also have a separate, so here's 1, 2, 1, 2, and then this other big space at the bottom there, which is nice. And then there's a bit of like, you know, the laptop compartment is off the has a false bottom off the bottom of the bag, so you can, you know, set down your bag without worrying about it like damaging your laptop. And the front inside pocket, you have these two stretch stiff materials here with some pull tabs. Have like a MacBook charger in there. There's 2 pen slots here, and then I have like, you know, like my charging cable, where we can also fit a mouse, etc. in there. Overall, like, I found this to be a pretty pleasant kind of, a pretty high degree of organization. One thing that I did notice a lot though, you can see out here, it's getting caught when I'm trying to put the device in there on something that I have in the main compartment of the bag, which I'll talk about here in a second. But I did find it kind of have a pretty good degree of organization. I like these two pockets up here. I like kind of, again, how compact and everything is and the usage of the vertical space, but it does get a little bit tight. Granted, this is a little bit of an unusual carry, a 12-inch iPad Pro and a 13-inch MacBook Pro, but the same thing happens if you have a smaller tablet and a larger laptop. Anyway, zipping this back up, we turn our attention to the main compartment here. Now, the main compartment, again, has these really small zippers with reverse coil zips, and they're a little bit frictionful. So if you're using two hands, or like I am right now, well, actually even there I got caught a little bit. It's okay to get in and out. It's not the worst in the world, and it does open in this almost clamshell, but not quite, because you have this water bottle pocket here, this asymmetry here. Now the problem is, because there's all this organization, especially on the inside front flap, it gets very heavy. And then if you try and pull it up, the zipper jackknifes like this, and it'll happen here as well. And so you really need to use two hands to get in and out. And then sometimes this happens as well, which is, you can see here, the zipper has caught on the zipper flap cover. This happens a lot on this bag. And here, let's see, like you have to kind of use one hand to kind of like uncatch the zipper guard, and then, okay, you got it here. So this happens. It's not great, but it's not the worst experience in the world. It's just, you just really need to be really deliberate in terms of, when you're manipulating the zippers on this bag. You'll notice again here, like we have like some stray thread here kind of hanging. Again, as I mentioned, there's a few stray threads here and there everywhere. Anyway, when we do open up this, again, jackknifing a little bit because of the material and the weight, this, we look at the main compartment. This is the inside front flap. You have a nice big mesh, stretch mesh fabric here. Same as we see on the inside pocket of the front lid, and it's like a big dump pocket, very traditional design you have in a lot of bags like this. I have my Belroy Apex wallet, like a card case, some chapstick, some AirPod Pros, some alcohol, and like a coin wallet or whatever, and that's really it. I like it's just a nice big dump pocket up at the top. Beyond that, the main compartment is just really bare. I have here like a USB battery, Moment Mini Tech Kit, which is actually a pretty good tech kit, and then like some AirPod Maxes or whatever these are called. It gets pretty small though, when you can see like we have a lot of stuff in this main compartment. You can also see here, for example, the inside materials or the stuff of the tech compartment is intruded in this main compartment. And you can also see here like where the laptop and stuff also intrudes. So vertically or depth-wise, like it's very easy to take up all the space inside of this compartment and then not have as much left as you might expect. And I think that that's another reason why this is not a great one-bag travel bag, but it's pretty good for like a smaller, tighter EDC use bag, or as a personal item in a two-bag travel system. Okay, now, last thing to mention right here is I wish there were like one more like kind of stretch mesh compartment to kind of stabilize some of the contents that you have in this bag. This might kind of help a little bit with organization, but a minor point, because again, there's pretty good organization in this bag. And then the nice white color helps you see whatever you have inside of there. Now you'll notice there's these two loops on the inside here, and these are for the attachment of the camera cube, which is the kind of last kind of main trick of this bag here. So let me set aside some of these things here, because I think that it is, and I'll put maybe just like, this couple of the contents back into this top pouch just to make a point here. So when we talk about this bag, it's aimed, as I mentioned, kind of as it's intended to be sort of like a camera bag. And one of the ways in which, or the way in which you're supposed to do that basically, is with this dedicated camera cube. Now this camera cube actually I think is pretty good as far as a camera cube goes. Like a lot of camera cubes, like it would be easy for them to cheap out and use like these big foam things with like just big bulky foam, and it's really unpleasant, etc. And like cheap looking and inefficient use of space. This one incorporates a lot of the lessons of modern camera cubes. Like it's very thin and hard, but dense kind of squishability, which a lot of camera cubes these days, like starting with like I think Peak Designs, travel system, they were the first ones to really start doing this. So they're flexi-fold dividers. Also here, like very thin, but like dense foam padding, a little bit of flocking, but not like these big, thick, squishy things. I think they correctly recognize that when it comes to bags you're carrying with you as opposed to checking in, like the damage to a lot of the camera equipment is not so much like from dropping off the side of a building or whatever, but just things scratching up or bumping up against each other. So for that, you can use a much thinner material with a denser foam that'll prevent scratching, but it's more space efficient, lets you get more stuff into a smaller space, and it's also lighter. It's more pleasant to use. Other things that they did that I think are nice is like integrated the, like stretch pockets for like, filters or batteries or whatever right into these movable dividers. Nice Velcro on the dividers, etc. This is a pretty good like modern camera cube as far as these things go. Now it has another trick, which is, you can remove this stiffer lid at the top here, and then you're left with this floppy lid, and then what you're supposed to do is take it through here, tuck it through this strap, and there's 3 straps on either side. Weirdly enough, it doesn't actually reach this other strap, it just flaps like this, which I thought was really odd. I think you're supposed to like maybe tuck it underneath this strap or something, I don't know. Anyway, I just leave it flapping like this. And then you'll notice there's these 2 toggles here, and these 2 toggles are supposed to attach to these toggles here inside of the bag. Now, I'm going to show you in real time what this looks like, and it's really as frustrating as it looks. So you try and work it in. This is what I mean, like it gets really tight, and in real time, this is how you're doing it. You're trying to work one in here, actually, and it's really, really tight. So you fight one in there, and then you've got this thing. You can already see it's sort of like, it's such a tight, there's this clearly overstuffed, and then we're trying to fit it into this one here. And we do that, and then we've got it, and I'll tell you what, my friends, it is exactly as awkward as it looks. Now watch this, right? First of all, friction on the zipper because everything's so tight and these zippers are so small. And unlike, like, for example, a big number 10 YKK rack and coil zipper, like I do not feel comfortable yanking on these because I do think that they will break if I really yanked on them. So I'm always fighting very carefully to make sure the zipper track is aligned. It's just not a very pleasant experience. And then, okay, so now we've got this thing in here. Friends, it really is as awkward as it looks. Like it's just way overstuffed. It bulges out in the back of the bag, etc. Like it's just not a very pleasant experience, and it's just, looks exactly like what it is, which is you stuffed this giant camera cube vertically into a very tiny bag. Now, the other thing that you notice is like this leaves you with this awkward kind of vertical space here. Now they claim that you can use this to like put extra stuff in there. What I found in reality is like, because it's so tight, especially if you have stuff in the front or the back pockets, like it just really like, it slants here. There's not a lot of space. Now you can fit, for example, like a very small tripod in here, but again, this is pretty small for a tripod. Most tripods are larger. Or possibly you can fit an additional lens or something in there. If you have it its own foam cushioning, can't be too big. Like you could jam like a 70 to 200 f4 or something like that in there. But overall, it's not a very pleasant experience. Now, look, honestly, like this is not usable because in this state here, for a couple of reasons. One, it's almost impossible to get in and out of without setting the bag down to like, fight with these zippers around this track. But number 2, because of like kind of vertical height or whatever, like it's almost impossible to use now the front pockets of this bag. Or if we open this back pocket, you can see just how everything's kind of being, like you can see where the camera cube is just pushing the contents in there, and it's so unpleasant on the back. You get like this bowing effect, even with the stiff frame sheet or whatever. So in reality, if you're looking to use this as a camera bag, I think you really need to remove most of your devices from the bag and use it just as a camera bag. And I think that in some ways, that's the kind of versatility of this bag. Like you can use it as an EDC bag, or you can use it maybe as a camera bag, though not that successfully, as we'll get into here in a moment here. But it's probably not realistic to imagine that you'll be able to do both of these things very well at the same time. So take this out and let's take out a bunch of stuff here. And maybe you leave like just like a wallet or something like that in the front there, like a pocket or something, and a phone or something like that in the pocket. And now we have a little bit more space, a little bit more room. So all we really have is like a camera cube and like a wallet or something like that in there. So now we have a little bit more room to kind of play with. It doesn't feel quite as tight. Okay, fine. So now the next thing that you want to do is you want to load in your camera equipment into this cube. Now you can obviously mess with the position of these dividers, but generally speaking, I think if you're using like an average full frame setup, this is going to be a Sony a7R4 with a 24 to 105 G f4 lens and something like a 24 1.4 G master lens, which is the smallest G master lens that Sony makes, like a prime and like a standard, 24 105 type of lens. This is a very standard full frame setup. So you tuck one probably in there because you want to be able to access your camera. So you'll put it up towards the top, and then you'll, however you want to do it. Usually, I guess like we could throw it in there. Maybe you could put some filters or batteries in this middle compartment here. Now there's a few problems that you start having right away with this, right? The first problem is you can feel the camera kind of rattling against the side of the bag as you walk, which is annoying but not fatal, except when you open it up. Like very often, very easy for this camera to kind of work its way loose. It'll come like this, and then it might fall out if you're not careful, you don't have it exactly upright. But remember the way that, you're often like, you're trying to grab a shot very quickly, so you swing the bag off your shoulder, put your hand through this strap here, now you've got it like this. Okay, let me grab my camera like this, and then you notice another problem, which is this top loop has come loose. This happens all the time. And it is basically because the top loop here is way too loose. And I didn't believe that this was, I thought it must surely have been a manufacturing defect. So I bought a second copy of this bag. And in fact, this is the same thing. Like this loop is too loose here. This loop, by the way, is very, very tight, especially because you have kind of where the laptop intrudes in there. And it's just really hard to get it attached in here, and it always comes loose in there. So it's not a manufacturing defect per se, it's just how this bag is built. And so, I mean, this is really annoying because every time you're going to, shoot with this bag, you swing it open, and then, oh, now it's flopping around on the inside, unattached from the wall. And then you've got to, before you can get your shot, you have to kind of mess with trying to get this loop to hold in there. Okay, now we're back here. Now let's go to shoot. The other problem that you often run into is because you can see right here, the nature of this bag and how it's kind of built, the zipper track, it's very hard to get to the lens or whatever you have in the bottom here. Like it snags on the zipper because it's just like this really weird V shape, when in fact this is a big square thing. And it's the same problem we had with the bottom pocket in this front slash pocket here, the bottom inside pocket and this front slash pocket. And you basically need to put your camera at the top if you expect to be shooting in and out of it. You will have, I'll say, better luck with a smaller camera. So if you're on an APS-C body, or this is like an Olympus OMD EM1 Mark III with a 12-100 f4 and 7-14. This is a micro 4/3 setup. This is definitely a smaller setup. You're going to have better luck with this. You still will have problems, I think, though, with kind of like snagging on the bottom of this zipper track, and then with the camera just kind of jostling a little bit around, because regardless of how you do it, since you need to keep the camera up at the top, no matter how you arrange these kind of dividers or whatever, because you can't really get the camera out if it's at the bottom there, it's just too big to pass through this tight zipper passage, you're going to have it just kind of flopping around or just kind of working its way loose, and then this silly thing always coming loose. It's a really subpar experience in terms of being able to carry a camera inside of this bag. There's a reason that camera cubes are not oriented vertically. It really feels like they just shoehorned a vertical or camera cube into a bag that really wasn't designed for it. And even the parts that they did design, which is that loop there, were not very well designed, as you can see, because they kind of come loose. So if you're looking to carry like a really small mirrorless setup, APS-C micro 4/3 from point to point, and then take your camera out and have to be in and out of it, this could potentially work if you want a really inefficient inefficient way of doing so. Other than that, though, I just really can't recommend this as a dedicated camera bag, certainly. The last thing to mention, right, there's a reason you don't see camera cubes oriented like that. The cameras that do have, or camera bags that do have like a side port to access your camera, your shooting camera ready to go, have exactly that, like a port, and with a pretty robust foam structuring that lets you get in and out without having this flopping issues or whatever. And I want to be clear, you can orient that camera cube dividers however you want. You're going to have that problem because of the nature of this bag and because of just sort of how it's built with the camera cube just sort of bolted in there, and because of that loose little loop there. Anyway, that's not to say that I hate this bag. There's a lot of things that I like about this bag, as I've already covered. I just think as a camera bag, it's not going to be the best choice for you. Now, anyway, that having been said, if you're in the market for a bag like this that covers all these different use cases, or maybe you're looking for bags that cover these different use cases, just not all at once, what are some other bags you might want to consider? So first of all, let's start with a good, small EDC black bag that has a lot of the same features and functionality here. This is the Bellroy Transit Work Pack. I've done a full video on this, which I'll link in the description below. You got the same thing. You got a nice big opening clamshell, lots of organization all over this bag, side water bottle pockets, except this one has them on both sides, dedicated external laptop device compartment with like top storage for like your chargers and whatnot. You know, additionally, like you have like nice organization on the back here, and surprisingly, look, watch this. This one does a much better job of carrying the camera cube and still being eminently usable than the Moment does, right? So again, if you're looking to carry a camera and lens in this kind of configuration, you're gonna have better luck using a bag like this. It's just built in a better way. Now you do lose the sternum strap, but as we've seen, I'm not exactly the world's biggest fan of the sternum strap. Anyway, like I think this is a really great EDC smaller bag that has lots of organization that also will do just about everything that this bag will do, maybe minus the luggage pass-through. Another good classic like EDC black bag that a lot of people enjoy. This is the Evergood Civic Panel Loader. This is 24, this is the V2. There's also a larger 28-liter version. There's also the original V1. This one also has, the V2 has like some nice organization on the inside front pocket, though maybe not quite to the same degree as the Moment bag. Has a full clamshell opening for super easy loading. Again, multiple, sometimes even more organization here, an extra pocket here, an extra pocket here. Has a top dump pocket, their famous yoke pocket there. And then it also has, I think, a slightly better, less tight laptop and device compartment here that has a little bit more space to kind of like fit your different devices in there, a little bit more robust. And you have a much better load carry system on this one. And once again, the story is, if you're looking to carry a camera cube inside of your EDC bag, like it works better and it's still far more usable inside of the Evergoods bag than it is inside of the Moment bag. Again, I think just because of the slightly larger size. And finally, if you're looking for a black camera bag to carry your photographic gear, there are many out there, but the one that can come closest to also working as an EDC bag is going to be the Peak Design Everyday camera backpack. There's two sizes. This is the smaller size. There's a lot of, okay, first of all, it is absolutely in every single shape, way, and form a superior solution for carrying camera equipment due to these flexi-fold dividers, just the structure of the bag, in and out, the fact that, you know, both of these wings open all the way up, have lots of great organization in the side panels here for like filters and batteries and all of that stuff. And it has a lot of like really well built side water bottle pockets that also have straps built in to secure, you know, for example, tripods, lots of stuff will fit inside of there. You have a dedicated external laptop and device compartment in the back here with also like a top loading kind of separate compartment for like chargers and whatnot, and then also expands the volume a bit via this kind of mag latch system up here. Now, what you do lose with this bag, I think, or maybe not what you do lose, but maybe, you know, sorry, it also has a luggage pass-through here, though it's not as good as this one. Now, I think what you do kind of maybe have to consider with this bag is a lot of people don't like the suspension that much. I think it's fine for what it is. The sternum strap is also pretty miserable on this bag, honestly, though not as bad as the Moment. And then also, it does not actually do very well in terms of like carrying. It has the same problem in that it gets a little tight in this compartment for laptops and tablets and business papers and stuff like that. But still, in terms of a straight up photography backpack first that also does capable duties as an EDC bag, this is a pretty good choice. Anyway, and that's it. So if you have any questions about this bag, go ahead and leave those in the comments below. And if you have any bags you'd like me to review, go ahead and leave those in the comments below. And if I own them, I will review them. Thank you very much.